Welcome to the It Factor. We're Jemmy and I, exploring a new blog post by Mr. Len Kaplan, CEO of CDML, a managed service provider in Queens, NY, offering network management, voice over IP and UCAS, cybersecurity compliance, IaaS, cloud solutions, and Microsoft 365 and Azure solutions. If you're a small business owner or manage IT for a growing organization, this deep dive is for you.
Today, we're digging into Len Kaplan's analysis titled Classic Outlook Modern Risk When Legacy Email Clients Break Security Expectations. And this is a really essential topic because it focuses on a blind spot that I think a lot of businesses have.
A blind spot. What do you mean by that?
This assumption that the software we've used forever, the stuff we trust, will just automatically keep up with, modern security demands.
Right, it's a tension between what feels comfortable and what's actually critically necessary. I mean, think about Microsoft's classic Outlook client.
Oh, absolutely.
For so many people listening, it's the backbone of their office. It's everywhere, it's familiar, and people trust it because, well, it's worked for decades.
And when you're running a small business, you really don't want to mess with something that's not broken.
Exactly.
But that history, that trust, is exactly what's being challenged here. Kaplan points to a very specific issue, a bug. A bug that stops encrypted emails from opening properly in the classic Outlook client.
Okay, so when I hear bug, my first thought is, it's a technical glitch. Microsoft will push a patch, problem solved.
And that's the trap. The article argues this is so much deeper than just some patchable error. It's really showing a structural weakness in how organizations rely on these older legacy tools.
So it's not the bug, it's what the bug reveals.
Precisely. It's about meeting a moving target. For a small business owner today, email encryption isn't some luxury feature. It's a baseline requirement.
Especially if you're handling sensitive data.
Right. If you have customer PII that's personally identifiable information or health records, something like HIPAA or GDPR compliance makes strong encryption mandatory. It's about protecting data and, frankly, managing your own legal liability.
So a company sets up this new security policy. They say, we have to encrypt everything. But then the tool everyone uses, classic Outlook, suddenly can't open the mail.
Then the policy is basically useless in that moment, and you've just walked right into what the article calls the trust trap.
The trust trap. I like that. It sounds like a cognitive bias for IT.
It is. We just don't audit the software that's always worked for us. An IT manager who's used classic Outlook for 10 years sees it as low risk. Why wouldn't they? It's never caused a big problem before.
So they just assume it can handle new things like modern encryption or multi-factor authentication, even if those things weren't even invented when the client was first built.
Yes, that's the core of it, and that's why this is so critical. The failure to open the message, that isn't the real threat.
The threat is what the user does next.
That's it. That's the real security breakdown, the insecure workaround. Security doesn't just fail because of hackers. A lot of the time, it fails because a workflow just breaks under pressure.
Right. Put yourself in the user's shoes. They need to open an encrypted file for a big presentation. Maybe a client deadline is looming. They click the email in Outlook, and they get an error. Or just a blank page.
What's their first move?
It's not going to be file a help desk ticket and wait 2 days.
No way. Their instinct is to solve the problem right now. And if the secure path is blocked, they will immediately, almost without thinking, look for the path of least resistance.
So the real danger here isn't the software bug itself. It's this untested assumption that our old tools will just work with new security rules
Without us ever checking on them. And when the client fails, users are basically forced into these workarounds that just quietly pull apart all the security you've built.
Can you give us an analogy for that? Make it a bit more tangible.
Sure. Imagine you build a high-tech bank vault for your documents. That's your encryption policy. And the high-tech keycard reader on the door, that's your classic Outlook client.
Okay.
One day, the keycard reader just gives you an error, but you need the documents inside now. What do you do?
Well, I might call the person who sent them and say, hey, your secure file isn't opening. Can you just, read the important bits to me over the phone?
Or even worse.
Can you just send it again, but without the encryption? Just this once.
Exactly. The vault is still secure, but because the door is jammed, you just ask someone to toss the gold bars over the wall. The user, frustrated, might also go to Outlook on the web, open it there, then copy the sensitive data and paste it into an unsecured Word doc on their desktop.
Oh, that's bad. Because now that encrypted data is just sitting exposed on a local drive, maybe getting backed up to their personal cloud storage.
All because they were just trying to be productive. The failure isn't the technology, it's the security policy's failure to account for human behavior when things get difficult.
The weakest link in the workflow.
Always. And the bug will get fixed, sure. But that period of chaos, it teaches users bad habits. And those insecure habits can stick around long after the patch is installed.
This sounds like a huge disconnect. You have a compliance mandate, but the software can't execute it. So what's the solution? We can't just tell everyone to stop using Classic Outlook tomorrow.
No, that's not realistic. The immediate goal, as Mr. Kaplan advises, is just clarity. We have to get rid of the uncertainty. You need to know exactly how encrypted email behaves for your staff right now.
So action step 1 he mentions is validate your tools. That sounds like you're saying we need to run fire drills.
That's a perfect way to put it. And it's not optional. You have to actively test this. Send encrypted test emails both inside your company and to external partners.
And what are we looking for? What's the big red flag in that test?
Anything other than a smooth, immediate opening of the message. If your user gets a weird prompt, a blank screen, an error code, anything, you have a problem.
Because if that happens in a test,
You have to assume that in a real high-pressure situation, your user is going to pivot to one of those insecure workarounds we just talked about. The test is a diagnostic for behavior, not just software.
let me just push back a little here. Is this really fair to blame entirely on Classic Outlook? I mean, isn't this also a failure of IT to test their systems? If you're rolling out new encryption, shouldn't validation just be part of the process?
That is an excellent point. And yes, absolutely. The article's focus on the Classic client is really just to highlight the risk that comes from what you could call legacy convenience.
That trust trap again?
Exactly. The tool is so familiar that managers just skip that validation step. They assume it'll work. And that's where action step 2 comes in. Review your configuration.
Okay, so what should a small business owner be looking for in their configuration?
The key thing to understand is that not all email encryption is the same. A lot of modern systems, especially with Microsoft 365, rely on modern authentication, and they often push the user to a secure web page to view the message.
Ah, I see. So you have a clash. The old legacy client is trying to open it one way, but the new cloud system is designed to have it opened in a browser.
Precisely. It's like trying to put modern fuel in a vintage car. It might sputter, or it might just not work at all. You can't blame the fuel or the car, really. You have a configuration mismatch.
That makes a lot of sense. But what if a business really can't get rid of the classic client right away?
Then action step 3 becomes absolutely vital. Establish a defined fallback.
A secure exit ramp.
A sanctioned, secure exit ramp. It has to be defined, documented, and trained before your users start inventing their own. You want to get ahead of the problem.
And what would an approved fallback look like?
It could be as simple as telling staff to use Outlook on the web for encrypted messages only. Or, even more important, having a crystal clear escalation path. Who do they call right now if a critical encrypted email won't open?
So you're replacing their panic guess with a secure process.
Exactly. And that leads to the last action step, which is more about leadership. Reassess habit versus intention.
This is the big picture question.
Right. Is your company using old software because it's an intentional strategic choice? Or is it just habit? If data protection is a real business requirement, leadership has to acknowledge the trade-offs and plan a transition.
And that transition doesn't have to be all at once. It could be phased. Maybe you move the departments with the most sensitive data, like HR or finance, to the modern client first.
That's a perfect strategy. Phased implementation based on risk. And through all of this, the final piece is communication. Tell your staff what to expect, what to do when something breaks, and who to call.
This really shifts the whole conversation. It's not about a technical bug. It's about making sure your security actually works under the stress of a normal workday.
That's the core message from Classic Outlook Modern Risk. Security isn't just turning on a feature, it's ensuring it works flawlessly in the real world. When legacy convenience is allowed to silently override modern protection, that convenience becomes your biggest liability.
And I imagine this is where a company like CDML Computer Services comes in. They help organizations align those security controls with how people actually work.
They do. They assess how the tech, the policy, and user behavior all interact. It's about making sure your protections work as intended without forcing your staff into those risky workarounds.
So if you're listening and you're all unsure whether your current tools are really up to the task of your security requirements, it's probably time for a much closer look.
It's time for a mandatory, documented validation test. Don't assume. No.
If you like this deep dive, please click the thumbs up button.
And remember, new blog posts come out every Tuesday and Thursday. We invite you to visit https://cdml.com and subscribe to our blog for more insights just like this.
Till next time.